Hey, so yeah, I'm not doing great. I'm not doing great at all. I am currently in a hotel room in Spokane, Washington, and let me rewind real quick. I'm filming this later than I had originally planned on because I had last minute travel plans. Things have just been very hectic since I've gotten here. But after I found out I was coming, I was like, "Oh, what a fun place. What a fun episode that will be recording in Spokane during the NCAA tournament. It'll be awesome." Yeah, Auburn lost to Yale yesterday. Yale. Yeah, Yale. But I won't start talking about that now. I will get into that a little bit later. But that is why this is being released later, and that is why I'm wearing all black to mourn the end of Auburn's basketball season. I understand that you might be thinking that I'm dramatic right now, and I am. I'm validating your thoughts because that is accurate. But it actually worked out because a lot of the questions that y'all submitted last week were about the SEC tournament because Dunaway and I were in Nashville covering that, which I was coming off the highest of highs. And that changed. I got humbled very quickly. We'll just leave it there. But I can still talk about those questions, and I'm going to incorporate some stories from my few days in Spokane so far. I'm trying to do better. I'm trying to realize that losing a basketball game isn't the end of the world. It kind of is to me. I was not well last night. I'll just leave it there. And if you saw anything that I posted on Twitter, I will get into that in a second because that ties into question number one. But this morning I woke up and I felt like someone ripped my heart out of my chest and then ran it over 15 times with the Auburn team bus that was driving to the airport to fly home. But I was like, I'm going to get up. It's fine. I'm fine. I'm fine. Everything's okay. I'm going to get up and I'm just going to stroll. I'm going to stroll downtown Spokane, Washington before my work duties today and maybe do a little retail therapy. Yeah, so I get about 5 minutes down the street and I I was an eyewitness to an attempted robbery at the Nike outlet store, which I'm not going to tell that story right now. If you would like to hear it, please let me know and we can get back to that later on. We're just going to dive in. We're going to dive in. Question number one came from Jay Hitt. And it's funny because this was sent prior to the tournament, the NCAA tournament, after the SEC tournament. And the question is, do you hate Dunaway for picking Auburn to win it all? I love Dunaway. Let me start there. After he revealed on the show, I think it may have been Wednesday, that he picked Auburn to win the national championship, my heart broke a little because I knew exactly what he was doing. He immediately said, "Hit rewind. I'm not doing this as a landmine." And I was like, okay, then what, do you genuinely think that Auburn can win it all? I get nervous making statements like that because then if the opposite happens, I blame myself. I'm like, okay, well, because I texted my sister's friend's cousin that I thought Auburn was going to win it, then they're going to lose. So I keep my mouth shut. And that, yeah, it hurt. It hurt when Dunaway picked them because of his history of landmining everything under the sun. And so after the game ended last night, I was in a state of emotional breakdown, emotional distress. And the first person to blame was Dunaway. He was the easy one to blame. That's who everyone was going to blame. Is it really Dunaway's fault? I mean, probably, because he landmines everyone, but no. Auburn should have won. Auburn should have won before Chad Baker-Mazara got ejected. Auburn should have won after. But hey, we're not going to blame the officials here. We don't do that. Auburn should have won. But the hate that I've been seeing towards Chad on Twitter, stop it. Because, no one is more upset than the players in that locker room. I tend to tell myself sometimes that I am as upset as them, and I'm not. I was in the locker room after the game, and it was actually the most depressing room that I've ever been in. And they beat themselves up. So let's not beat them up when we're sitting on our couch and could never play a minute of Division I basketball. Let's give them a break. So, yeah, I was really mad at Dunaway yesterday, and I expressed that through social media. That was my way of coping. I also sent him some very horrible texts, so Dunaway, I'm sorry. But I was pissed off. I do not handle losses well. I don't, and I will be the first person to tell you that. But I don't hate him. I don't hate him at all. Do I wish he would have picked another team to win the NCAA tournament? Yes, of course I do. But, hey, it happened, and it's in the past. And I am on my road to recovery. I'm going to be okay. Everyone's going to be okay. And I hate the negativity that I see towards the players. We had such a fun season. They were picked to finish 6th in the SEC, 6th. And they won the SEC tournament. And, yeah, March didn't go how any of us wanted to, but it wasn't how they wanted it to go either. So that's all I'll say on that right now, because it sucks. It sucks for everyone. But don't hate on the players. And I'm going to stop hating on Dunaway right now. I'm addressing the public. And this is my statement to say, Dunaway, I'm sorry for the social media slander. Because at the end of the day, it's probably your fault, but it also couldn't be your fault. So, I'm sorry. Question number 2 is from Jordan, and the question is, how'd you wind up at Auburn from Michigan, and what is your reason for not going back? So, for those of you who don't know, I'm from Michigan, and I say that. I mean, that's where I was born. I lived there until I was 2. And then my dad's job moved us to Birmingham. I have 2 older siblings, so they lived there a lot longer than I did. My parents both grew up in Michigan, and all of our relatives still live there. But we moved to Alabama when I was 2, and I don't know what made me become an Auburn fan. But I was just an Auburn fan from day one. That's the only team that I've ever loved. I cannot remember why I became an Auburn fan. It definitely wasn't because of the people at school, because all of my high school friends, which were the same people that I went to middle school and elementary school with, were, let's say 90% of them were Alabama fans. So that wasn't easy. I don't know why. I don't know why I became an Auburn fan, but I did, and I never turned back. And why did I not go back? So my immediate family still lives in Birmingham. My brother actually moved to Oregon, but my sister and my mom and dad still live in Birmingham. All of our family is still in Michigan. Some of my cousins have actually moved to Birmingham, and it's so fun. But it's too cold. It is way too cold. I do not like the winter. And one of the last times that we went to Michigan for Christmas, I think it was the night before we were coming back home, and we always drive. It's just a quick 12 hours down the road. But we were going outside to pack our car, put our luggage in there, because we typically leave early in the morning. And our car doors were froze shut. My dad had to get I'm pretty sure he got a hairdryer and was trying to thaw them out. And that's just, I'm not having that. I'm not having it. I do not like it. I don't like it. I like the hot weather. I like being tan. And I just love the South now. So I guess we didn't go back because my parents are in Birmingham, but even if they weren't at this point in my life, I still wouldn't go back. The SEC, man, I'm never leaving. It is the college football capital of the world. Why would I want to go anywhere else? But my dad is a Michigan fan. My mom's a Michigan State fan. So he was very excited at the end of football season this year with Michigan winning the national championship. But yeah, we're here for good. I'm here for good. My parents are here for good. We're never going back. And now my whole family is Auburn fans. And we can all be depressed together after the loss. Me, probably more so. Actually, my sister was really upset. Really upset. But I will end this question with this. It was the SEC championship game after a huge Chaney Johnson block. I can remember it. I'm seeing it in my head. And I looked down and I had a text from my sister to our family group chat that said, "Who's this Chaney Johnson guy that came out of nowhere?" And I was like, "Oh, Aaron. But yeah, so she loves sports. I obviously pay attention to it in a lot more detail than she does because it is my job, but that just made me laugh. But yeah, now we all love Auburn. We all get very sad when they lose, but Birmingham forever. The North, way too cold. Question number 3 is from Jason. And the question is, favorite Auburn football and basketball player during my time as a student. And this one was easy for football, harder for basketball because I've had so many that I have loved over the years. But I'll start with football since I've been kind of on a basketball rant. Smoke Monday was my favorite, still is my favorite player at Auburn. I don't know why I started loving him so much. I think just personality. He's just one of those people that he doesn't care. He's going to act how he acts. He had a big personality, somewhat of a controversial personality, but I loved it. And I'm going to find this video on my phone. I know I still have it, but my 21st birthday, it may have been, or 22nd. I don't know. That's irrelevant. But one of my birthdays when I was at Auburn, my friends somehow got him to send me a video, and we were all sitting on the couch and they played it on the TV, and it was so awesome. I'm going to find it and I'm going to put it in here.
Oh, what's up, man? Smoke Monday. I just want to wish you a happy birthday to Taylor. Hope you have the best birthday ever.
But I loved Smoke Monday, and I was devastated when he got injured his first year in the NFL. I don't really know what he's up to now. I need to check in on Smoke, see how he's doing. But I loved him. I loved him so much. And then basketball, I think I'm going to have to go Jaylin Williams. I admire his loyalty to Auburn, and I know he's not the only one. But you do not see many players nowadays that commit to a school, enroll, and stay there for all of their eligibility. I love him. He's not one of the players that has a massive personality on the court. I feel like he's very level-headed, which is good that we have some of those because we have a lot of big personalities, which I also love, but we can't have all KD Johnsons and Chad Baker-Mazaras because I don't know what would happen. I don't know. It would be crazy. It would probably be entertaining, but I don't know what would happen. But he kind of flies under the radar a little bit, personality-wise. But I just love that he has stayed at Auburn. He's so fun to watch, and I admire his commitment, his loyalty, especially in the era of college athletics that we're in now, where people play at 17 different schools before they graduate, which is insane. But I love Jaylin, and I was so sad that he played his last game in an Auburn uniform yesterday. That breaks my heart. And I'll tell a quick story about him post-game. I actually was not present for this, but we were in the locker room after the game, and a lot of the players had gone to have some personal time, I think. And I get it. I get it because it's hard after a loss that devastating to just open your doors and welcome in the media with their cameras and microphones in your face. You don't want to talk. You're upset. You're devastated. You're heartbroken, and it's hard. So I went into the locker room and talked to a few of the players that were available. And Jaylin was at the press conference with Bruce and Janai. And this was after I left, but he came back in and talked to the media that was in the locker room for a few minutes and told a story that right after the game, he called his mom and said, "Mom, I'm sorry." And she asked him what he was apologizing for. And he said, "Because we lost, the season's over and my college basketball career's over. And she told him, not to apologize. She was so proud of him for all of his accomplishments, and that this like made me want to cry. I teared up when I heard this before the Bama game yesterday, but she said, "You're more than a basketball player." And, time goes on. But I don't know. He just seems like a great person. I never hear anything negative about him ever. I never have, and I don't think that I ever will. And I just love how loyal he's been to Auburn. The next question comes from, I'm pretty sure you pronounce this, Wanna Beer Man. I don't know. WANNABEHRMANN. So I'm just going to take it as Wanna Beer Man. And yes, I would like a beer. But the question was funniest interview on the team. KD, Chad Baker, Dylan, or other. I would say with my experience, because we have only been in the locker room, SEC tournament and NCAA tournament. NCAA tournament, I'm just not even going to, no one was funny after that. They were all disappointed and upset, rightfully so. SEC tournament, I would say Chad. He's very animated. He can turn any question into a funny comment, and we had some good moments with him in the locker room after the SEC tournament. He was always running off the court, running down the hall, screaming Spanish. What was he saying? There's no telling. Something in Spanish. And he just seems so high energy. He has really embraced Auburn his first year here. I'm excited to have him back, assuming he will be playing in an Auburn jersey next year, which I really hope that he is. But he was hysterical in the locker room after all of the SEC tournament games, and a very great interview. KD, huge personality on the court, and he said some funny stuff as well, but he was honestly a little more composed in the locker room than you might think, which was very shocking to me. Dylan's very well spoken. He's very, very well spoken. He was more seriously, like answering the questions that you're asking. And he didn't really waver much from getting to the point and answering your question. But great guy, very well spoken. I mean, everyone, all of the locker rooms, Auburn and Alabama, the players are so fun to talk to after wins. Both teams have very big personalities on the roster, which makes it fun, and they mess with each other a lot. So if 5 or 6 people are crowded around a player, one of their teammates will hop in there and hold their phone out and act like they have a question to ask. And a lot of times they will ask a question. I don't know. It's fun. It's very lighthearted and typically very enjoyable. The UAB and Auburn locker rooms yesterday, not so much, but Chad is my answer for that one. The next question comes from Jordan. How does it work as far as media getting access inside to cover games? So it changes depending on where you are. I'm going to talk strictly basketball because I did not cover any football games besides the Music City Bowl this year. So I don't have as much experience doing that, but I was at a lot of basketball games this season. And when you're covering a game in Auburn or Tuscaloosa, you get credentialed either as a videographer, photographer, or just as media. You don't get access to the locker room anywhere that I've experienced just during the normal season, but the media will sit in seats with, they have a little desk in front of them for you to put your laptop or whatever you need to work. And then the photographers, videographers sit on the baseline next to the basket with their cameras. And you get access to the press conferences and the court area prior to the game. The whole game you're sitting down there if you're doing video or photography. But basically just, the press conferences, the court after the game. And then the same goes in Tuscaloosa. That's for Tuscaloosa and Auburn. But you do not go in the locker rooms during just a regular season game. After the game, you just go to the press conference and you're able to talk to the coaches and then whatever players are attending the press conference, speaking to the media. But SEC tournament, we got access to the locker rooms and then obviously the press conferences also. And then the seats were a little different because they were behind the scores table. The seats were incredible at the SEC tournament, and it's the same way in the NCAA tournament, or at least in Spokane, it's been the same way, where you're sitting courtside basically, and you're either on the same row as the announcers, the scorekeepers, the team radio, all of those people, or just one row behind, a little elevated, and then you'll get access to the locker rooms after the games. But I think it varies. Football, I can't speak on as much. We got access to the locker room after the bowl game, but I do not have near as much experience with football as basketball. But it's fun because a lot of the players, you see them as one thing, but then when you're able to go talk to them in the locker room in a more one-on-one personal setting, it's interesting. And that's I'm going to touch on the Auburn loss one more time. But that's, I think, what made this loss hurt so bad. They all hurt, but I've spent the past 2-3 months covering both Auburn and Alabama. Alabama still is in the tournament. They play again tomorrow. But Auburn, it crushed me yesterday because I feel like I know them more as people now and not just as players that I watch on TV. Interacting with them over the past week, especially the SEC tournament when they were all on cloud nine, then seeing their morale stoop so low, or that might not be the best way to put it, but just seeing them so defeated, so upset, so frustrated, so disappointed, hurt 10 times worse because I have had, conversations with them and it's not just watching them on TV. So that destroyed me. But it is very cool to be able to see kind of the behind the scenes, and this basketball season has been so fun. But enough of that, enough of the sadness. I'm putting it in the past. It's over. It's done with. And I'm going to move forward. But that's it. Those are the questions. This is the episode. And again, I greatly appreciate everyone that submitted questions. This was a very basketball heavy episode just because of where we are right now, what we've been doing, and a lot of y'all had questions about it. So I thought now would be the perfect time to answer them. I appreciate all of the submissions. If you would like to submit a question and don't know how, you can type a question in the comment of this video. You can send me a message on social media. If you're still interested in a little thing called email, you can email me, taylorcorn@nextroundlive.com. I will see y'all back. Next week. I will not be wearing all black because I will be better. I will be recovered. And everything's going to be all right. When times are hard, just tell yourself everything's going to be all right. Because I've been having to tell myself a lot over the past 12 hours. But thank you all for listening. Please subscribe. I would greatly appreciate that. Like this video. Leave your comments. I would love to hear your thoughts. I love interacting with all of our Next Round listeners, and I'm excited to get to interact with y'all. So do all of the things, submit questions, and I will see y'all next week with a big smile on my face and bright colored clothes on.